What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video, and today we're talking captaincy for Game Week 11. So as always, we're going to go through some of the major teams who've got the best fixtures and probably the best players to be looking at for captaincy. I think there is kind of a standout this week, but there are some good other options that I think people will be looking at as well. Now, a couple of things for this. I am recording it before the Europa League matches on Thursday, so potentially there's going to be some injuries, but obviously if players get injured, then they're no longer options for captaincy for Game Week 11. This will be going out early on Friday to make way for another video on Friday evening, which I don't usually do, but I am doing this week for a reason you'll find out on Friday evening, right? And the other thing is I'm kind of going through a few more matches and teams and players without just doing a load of them at the end. So sometimes I'll do like 1, 2, 3, the main matches, and then talk about the rest in one go. I'm split it out a little bit more today. So let me know which format you think works best, or if there's any change I should make to this video, because it's only been this season that I've been doing it. So let me know, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll jump into the first team. Okay, so we'll kick off with Man City versus Fulham, and I do think this is the best fixture of the week. Not only a great attacking side, but also a pretty weak defensive side as well. Now, Fulham stats-wise haven't actually done that badly over the last 4 game weeks. Not saying that they've been brilliant. They haven't suddenly changed this great defensive team, but they've done okay, right? But for this kind of fixture, you throw that out the window and you realise Fulham still aren't that great, and Man City are pretty damn good, right? And I've just seen a quote from Scott Parker as well, just before I started recording, that said, you know, we're going to play without fear, etc. And if that means them trying to play out from the back and trying to attack Man City, I am all for it, because Man City will absolutely pick them off. Now, for this fixture, I feel like there's 3 options we should probably be mostly looking at, right? So De Bruyne for sure, and then maybe some slightly, not outside of the box thinking, but more differential options in Jesus and Mahrez. Now, it seems absolutely crazy for me to not put Raheem Sterling on that list, but I just don't know how confident I am that he'll start. Now, for what it's worth, I did say on the Game Week preview that I do think he'll start. I think Jesus and Mahrez in the front 3 for sure, because they got rested in the Champions League, and De Bruyne is going to play because he always does. So that leaves one spot for Sterling. Now, Torres can play there as well, and Torres also played in the Champions League, which makes me think Sterling will play, even though he played more minutes. We know how much of a fit player he is, right? Pep Guardiola has told us that a lot of times. But that all being said, there would still be doubts in my mind as a Sterling owner about whether he's definitely going to start. And because of that, I don't know how high up the list I would really put him. And it's hard to kind of look at how he's done so far this season because of the lack of the minutes in the league, right? So last 4 game weeks, De Bruyne has played every single minute, 360. Jesus is on 270. Mahrez is on 247, so just behind Jesus. And then Sterling's only on 198 minutes, right? So you look at the shots. De Bruyne has had 16 shots in that time. That includes shots from outside the box as well. Mahrez and Jesus is 8 and Sterling's 4. And then Mahrez and De Bruyne have created a similar amount of chances. So for me, De Bruyne is the standout captain this week, I think, across all fixtures. I'm still going to talk about the rest in a minute, but I do think he's probably the standout this week. Does that mean you have to transfer him in if you own someone else, like a Bruno or a Vardy, whoever it might be? Not necessarily, but if you could pick one player this week, I do think it would be on him. I guess even with Jesus or Mahrez, there's a little bit of a worry of rotation. Not as much for Jesus for me, but for Mahrez, I guess, on that right-hand side, they could play someone else there. But given that he started 7 on the last day and he's just had a rest in the Champions League, I think he'd be looking pretty good. And I think this is going to be a similar fixture like Burnley, right? Two things are going to happen. One, Fulham are just going to sit back deep, in which case Man City are just going to wait and pick them off just in and around the box like they did against Burnley. They're going to overload players forward. Whoever's playing fullbacks, Mendy and Walker most likely, they're going to constantly get forward, throw crosses into the box, passes into the box, and just wait for that moment. I think it could be good for someone like Jesus just waiting around in the box looking to poach. So I think he could be an outside option. Obviously, Mahrez just scored a hat-trick, so you know what he can do on his day and how good he is. It's a shame that I know he's played 7 on the last day, but it's a shame he doesn't play more often for Man City because he's just so good. Or Fulham come out and play, and Man City still pick them apart, but maybe they do it on the counter. If Sterling plays, perhaps he's an option. The thing with Sterling is we've just not seen it so far this season. We know he's not a bad player. We know at some point this season he's gone on a massive run of games where he's scoring like every single week almost. But is that going to be right now? I just wouldn't have enough faith to put my captaincy armband on him this week, I don't think. I think there's enough doubts there where I probably wouldn't do it. So for me, De Bruyne is the standout this week and the standout in this fixture. But Mahrez and Jesus, if you don't want to go De Bruyne and you want to take a bit of a punt, they're the 2 that I'd be looking at. Okay, so West Ham versus Man United next, a.k.a. let's just talk about Bruno Fernandes again. I think no one else really we're going to be looking at for captaincy. Rashford's got a bit of a niggle with his shoulder, which played him up again in the Champions League. Martial is just... he couldn't be more out of form if he tried. I just don't know what's going on there. He had a great couple of chances against PSG, just didn't put them away. And Cavani, I still don't know if we're 100% certain he's going to start every single week. So most people probably don't own those players, let alone looking for captaincy. So I do think, as well as probably worrying about what formation they're going to play, we know Bruno's going to play in an advanced number 10 position. And he realistically is who people are looking to captain, right? So, interestingly, I looked at the stats for him. Now, I've been saying that they haven't been very good all season. There's been a few penalties. Like, he has been playing well. I'm not saying he hasn't. But underlying stats-wise, not great. They are picking up a little bit, I would say. He's had 7 shots in the box in the last 4 game weeks, which is less than 2 a game. But it's not awful, right? It's the same as Kevin De Bruyne. It's more than Salah as well, although Salah has played 100 less minutes. Salah's is 5 for 100 less minutes. So even his non-penalty XG is now higher than those boys. So it is kind of picking up a little bit for him. And I think we can see that in the games as well. I do think he's getting closer to playing almost like a second striker. I know he's always quite far forward. He's always getting passes in and around the final third. It just feels like he's getting into the box that little bit more. And I know he didn't look great against PSG, but that's PSG, right? It was a difficult game, and I still think he was a really good player on the day, or on the night. So yeah, looking good. I think one of the issues is West Ham, and they defended pretty well this season, right? Although, I would say in game week 10, we did see Aston Villa do quite well against them and should have probably scored more. But ultimately, so far this season, West Ham have been pretty good. I've had a look, 29 shots in the box conceded for them in the last 4 game weeks. That's the 12th best team, so they're kind of middle of the road, nothing great. Although their expected goals conceded is the 5th worst. So in terms of quality of chances that are given up, they're not doing that great. Now, I'm not sure how Man United are going to cope with them, right? West Ham switched to a back 4 halfway through the Aston Villa game. I don't think that's how they're going to line up against Man United. I think they're going to go back 5. They're going to defend deep. It's going to be a low block. And at times this year and last year, Man United have struggled with that. Now, the good news is it's almost certainly going to be Fred and Van der Beek with De Bruyne in front. So there's a little bit more creativity, right? Even Fred is like, I wouldn't call him like your standard central defensive midfielder. Although he plays deep, he's not that kind of player. He can still play a ball through. Van der Beek definitely can, and Fernandes can too. So that's going to allow us to hopefully get past that West Ham low block, which is what I assume it will be. Now, maybe Antonio will be fit enough to play. We'll have to wait and see what David Moyes says about him. And that'll obviously cause Man United some problems. But I think they're going to have enough to the point where I'd almost put Fernandes as maybe the second best captain option this week. Like I said the last few weeks, I can't keep betting against him. I think this is a pretty good fixture on paper. It could pan out into one of those really tight games where it's 1-0 either way or 1-0 or something like that. But if United can get that early goal, there's going to be plenty of points in this one. So yeah, like I said just a minute ago, Kevin De Bruyne are probably my favourite, but Fernandes has to be up there. And his stats are starting to look good, and they're almost matching the stupid amount of points he's already got. Who knows? It could be another double-digit haul. So I think United and City is probably where most people are going to put their captaincy, but there are other options this week, so we're going to talk about them too. So Chelsea versus Leeds. I don't think anyone's going to be captaining Bamford in this one. Even though I own him, I'm not expecting too much. I just think that Chelsea defence is too good. But on the Chelsea side, it could be a decent game for them. Now, Leeds, I just don't know what to think of them, right? Sometimes they're going to play teams that are getting smashed, and then they've actually got quite a good defensive record when they've not played a top 6 team. And sometimes they look like they're defending quite well. The goalkeeper makes a decent amount of saves. Calvin Phillips looking good in that deep lying role. And they look good at times, but other times they just look like they're going to concede loads of goals. And I do think Chelsea are going to have too much for them in this one. I wouldn't necessarily write Leeds off, but are they going to go gung-ho and absolutely go for it against Chelsea? They probably are, because that's what Leeds do, and they don't really change for anyone. And I just think the pace of someone like Werner, if they catch Leeds on a counter, could be pretty devastating. I also think Werner's probably been a little bit unlucky with the amount of points he's got recently. He hasn't done too bad, but I feel like he could have got more. And perhaps this is the game where it happens. I could see this one being really tight, where Frank Lampard's a little bit wary about that Leeds team, but Leeds don't necessarily have enough to penetrate what is a very, very good defence in Chelsea. Or I can just see it being wide open and being a bit like the 4-3 on the opening day of season, Liverpool versus Leeds. So I'm not 100% sure how to call it. My only worry with Chelsea is now they're getting a few players back. Havertz is back. I mean, Chelsea's second team is ridiculous, basically, the one that played in the Champions League. But Havertz is back. Giroud just scored 4 goals. Is he going to come in for Tammy? Is Tammy going to come out for Werner? And Pulisic's going to play left? There's all these things that we might have to start to worry about over the next couple of weeks. But right now, I don't see Werner missing out. I think he's either going to play left again or he's going to play through the middle. And I think if you look, if you're trying to think outside the box or go mega differential, Leeds are a team that can, on their day, concede a lot of goals. And against one of the other best teams in the league, why not it be Chelsea? And Vern, like I said, on the counter, he's going to get a few more chances like he has the last couple of games. And eventually he's going to put them away all in one game. He's going to get a big score. And he's got penalties, so there's not much to dislike about him. Okay, so let's look at Liverpool versus Wolves, right? And I'm not too sure what to make of this Wolves team right now. I know Jimenez is not a defender, right? Fully get that. He is a striker, etc. But he is going to be a massive miss to how Wolves play, right? He can do a bit of everything, including holding the ball up. And that's probably going to be needed against a side like Liverpool. Like, Wolves are really good, but obviously Liverpool are a step above. And I do wonder that him missing out might mean that the opposition has a bit more of the ball, which is not good when it's Liverpool. They've switched to a back four. Now, whether or not they'll keep that for the Liverpool game, I think there's a good chance they switch back to a back five. I also do wonder how, maybe this is a bit of overthinking, but when you switch from a back five that you played for ages to a back four, and then you switch back to a back five, potentially, what do the players think of that, right? Are they able to just switch from one to the other? Because it is a little bit different. I guess for centre-backs, it's similar, but you've got two other people covering in one formation, only one in another. I mean, Cody and Bolly are good enough. It's probably not going to matter, but something to think about, I guess. And I think they're going to know their role either way, right? Under Nuno. Nuno's a great manager, so I don't think it's too much of an issue, but just maybe something to think about. In terms of who's going to play for Liverpool, it's a tough one, right? Because in the Champions League, Firmino got rested. Again, I think he was rested the game before as well. And they played the three, Jota, Salah, Mane. Now, in some ways, I think, does that mean that Jota is now just first choice? He's going to play no matter what. And Firmino is only getting in if they play a front four. Or does it just mean that he wanted to rest Firmino again? And now Jota could miss out on the next one? Because Mane's just had a rest. Salah only played 60-odd minutes against Brighton. He wasn't happy about it either. I can't imagine he gets benched again. So either they're going to not play Firmino, or they're just going to play a front four, which could happen. Now, when that happens, who's the best option? You're still looking at Salah, Mane, Jota. You're not really looking at Firmino instead. And Jota's goal threat is just as good as the others. So, again, I said this last week, arguably, if you're going to captain a Liverpool player from this game, whether it's Salah or Jota, in terms of open play goal threat, there's not much difference. Mane and Salah are a little bit more creative. They tend to create more chances than Jota does, and the amount of shots in the box are very similar. And obviously Salah's got penalties, so I'm still there saying there's no way if I'm captain a Liverpool player it's not Mo Salah. My only issue is what will this game be like, and what will Wolves be like? We're going to talk about Sheffield United in a minute, and Wolves are very similar in that you just don't expect them to concede a huge amount of goals. They had that game early in the season against West Ham. Didn't go well for them at all, but usually they're a team that at most concedes 2 goals, maybe 1. Now, you can see 2 goals and they're scored by the same player. That's obviously a great captain, but in that Liverpool team, there's so many goals to go around, there's so many points to go around. It just doesn't feel like a captain option this week. I would never back against Salah to do well in any fixture, and the form that Jota's in right now, who knows, he could do really well too. Mane on his day is just as good as those two as well. So there are options, but for me there are just better options this week than targeting Wolves. In a few weeks, once we've seen Wolves maybe play with this back four for a bit longer, when we've seen them maybe play without Jimenez, if they look worse, then maybe we can start discussing about targeting them. But right now, it just doesn't feel like a very safe thing to do. So I'm going to be quick on this one. I don't really like it, right? I said that Jamie Vardy was a great option last week. I even said he was the best option. He only came away with an assist, which is not great. I had a look at that game week. 3 shots in the box, 0.37 XG. It's okay. It's not awful. It's not fantastic either. He's up against Sheffield United, who a bit like Sheffield United have not kept a clean sheet this season, but apart from Chelsea, who put 4 past them, they haven't conceded more than 2. So they don't concede many goals. The main difference with what I just said about when Liverpool play Wolves, who don't concede many, and Leicester playing Sheffield United, who also don't concede many, is when Leicester score, Jamie Vardy is usually involved, right? When Liverpool score, is it Jota? Fine, that's not a shock. Is it Salah? Not a shock. Mane? Not a shock. If it's Leicester and he's not scored or assisted, then you would be a little bit surprised. So in that regard, I could see why people might want to go for it. He's also a Sheffield Wednesday fan, by the way, so maybe this is a really good fixture for him to score and celebrate even without the fans and just be super happy with it. But for me, the underlying numbers are still not there. And I know Jamie Vardy doesn't need them, people say that, but he still needs the chances more often than not, right, to score. He doesn't just create something out of nothing as far, usually anyway. And obviously you can rely on penalties, but we just don't know if they're going to get them. So for me, I like Vardy, and I see why people got him in last week for that captaincy fixture against Fulham. and I don't think he's a bad hold for the next couple of weeks. But in terms of captaincy, I'm just not sure I would go there. Sheffield United will probably concede because they have conceded in every single game so far. I just don't see a high score. And if someone like Barnes or Maddison went and got the goal, it could just be a 1-0 or something like that to Leicester. So I don't see a high enough scoring game here. And I don't feel like there's enough upside to be captaining Jamie Vardy this week. So last up, we've got Spurs versus Arsenal. Now, I think 2 weeks ago was probably the right time to get rid of Spurs players. And I won't go into too much about whether we should still have them, whether we should sell them. But the next couple of fixtures are much better. And Arsenal, it doesn't look like a bad time to be playing them at all. My worry is, right, everyone talked about the counter-attacking for Spurs, it's going to be great, etc. But as I said, for the Chelsea game, it was very tight. Why? Because Chelsea aren't going to attack Spurs like Man City did. And you know what? Arsenal are not going to attack Spurs either. And I do think with these tougher fixtures with Mourinho, he is a manager where he'll play for a 1-0. He's not going to... maybe it will happen. I doubt it, though. He's not going to go out and just try and attack Arsenal over and over again and hope to get the goal. He's going to wait and wait and wait. And I think Arteta will be doing something similar, right? Arsenal are really struggling to score goals at the moment. Like really, really struggling. Not great going forward at all. Defensively, look, they've let quite a few goals in. They let 2 in against Wolves, 3 in against Villa. So I'm not even sure we can say they're good defensively. But we have seen some good defensive performances this year. Arteta got the tactics spot on against Man United. And I'm sure he's going to be looking to stop Spurs in a very similar fashion probably as well. So we'll have to see whether that happens. For me, that's going to be my main concern. Is Arsenal are not going to attack Spurs. Mourinho is going to be worried about losing the game, essentially, I think he'd happily take... If you offered Mourinho right now a 1-0 win, he'd happily take that. And that is my concern about captaining a player in this game. What I will say is Arsenal conceded the second most amount of shots in the box in the last 4 game weeks. Only West Brom were conceded more. So that isn't something we should kind of ignore completely. But... on the other hand, the stats for Kane and Son are really not good at all, right? Last 4 game weeks, Kane's had 6 shots in the box. Not bad, right? 1.5 a game. Son's only had 2. Now, I will fully agree with anyone that says, yeah, but they've just played City and Chelsea. Fair enough. But they've also played Brighton and West Brom in that time. So for Son to have 2 shots in the box, that is awful. He's also only created 2 chances. Kane's created 7. So if you're going to captain someone from this fixture, I still think, and I've been saying this for ages, although Son on his day, obviously, if he can play off the last man, get that counter in, we know he can score just like against Man City. But I think given the penalty situation and the fact that his underlying numbers are just better, and he's just been playing so good this year, Kane is the captain if you want to play someone in this fixture. I know what people say. He's got a great record in the North London derby. And look, it probably does mean something to him, right? He knows every time he scores in this fixture, Spurs fans just love him a little bit more. So I'm not saying you shouldn't take those kind of facts into account, but I don't think they really play a big part in our decision. And for me, this is going to be another tight game where neither manager are going to want to lose. And I think it'll be like Chelsea versus Man United, like Man United versus Arsenal, and like Spurs versus Chelsea. All very low scoring games. And the league is tight right now. It's not like Spurs, they're top of the league, doing great, but they're not miles ahead, right? So that's also something to consider. You don't want to give up points, especially over this. It's not just a tough period of matches for Spurs. It's also a tough fixture period, right? Because there's so many fixtures. So I wouldn't be happy captaining either of these players in these teams. If you got them, fair enough, because I think you can keep them for the next couple of weeks, given the fixture they got. But for me, I don't think I'd like to throw the armband on Kane this week, even though probably do well like he always does in the North London derbies, right? So there we go. That is captaincy done. I would say De Bruyne, the top captaincy option this week. Maybe Fernandes just behind, but I don't think Salah is too far away either. I think the likes of Vardy and Kane, Werner, they're not bad options. But I don't think they're necessarily the best option. I think I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Werner gets a double-digit haul, or even Harry Kane. But I think my money would be on the Man City boys. Kevin De Bruyne for sure. If you want to take a punt, like I said, Mahrez or Jesus could be big. I know the feeling a lot of people have. Well, Mahrez scored a hat-trick last week. He can't do it again. But if you ignore that week, he is just a good option in general. So I'll leave it there. Please do let me know what you thought, whether you want the format changed in any kind of way. And also give the video a like if you have enjoyed it. We need another 1,000 likes on this video. It's become a common thing on this channel, so please do keep it up, and also hit that subscribe button. We're just 2,500 subscribers away from 125k, which would be absolutely massive, so please do hit that button and the notification bell if you haven't already. And I'll just do a quick shout out to the patrons. If you've not already signed up, patreon.com/letstalkfpl. There's a link in the description below, which will take you through if you want to check that out. There's 3 different tiers depending on which one you want to go for. There's like early team reveals, like I've just done a video on Thursday talking about my team for the next week. So obviously there's some changes because of the Villa game. There's Slack access on the middle tier. There's WhatsApp access on the top tier. It depends what you want to sign up to. But if you want to support me and the channel a bit further, help us make this bigger and better, that would be much appreciated. And everyone that signs up goes up on the Patreon Legends Wall. So thank you very much to everyone that has already signed up, and a big thank you to William P, who has signed up since the last video. I will leave that one there. Thank you very much for watching. Like I said, I have recorded this before the Thursday games. Hopefully there's nothing major in them. And there will be another video tonight, probably about 6, 7 or 8 p.m, something like that. I'll talk a bit more about my team and stuff like that. So thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you later.